So what do you do to prevent LSI and rescues? What would you do?
Morning.
Morning. Because he'd like to see that ship when they actually.
Good morning, everyone. If you would please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for coming. It is March 17th, and I would like to wish a happy St. Patrick's Day to several of the folks wearing green, as well as those not wearing green. It is the Broadwater County Commissioners meeting. And to start with, we just read a very general welcome so that everybody's on the same page. Broadwater County open meeting policy follows Robert Rules of Order. The purpose of this policy is to open Broadwater County public meetings to all county citizens. We realize we have a fiscal and fiduciary responsibility to conduct county business as efficiently as possible for all Broadwater County residents. Commission meetings are recorded and are on YouTube, so please state your full name prior to public comment for the record. Any separate conversations need to be removed from the meeting and conducted outside. Outbursts will not be tolerated, and public comment will give each citizen who wishes to speak 3 minutes to do so. All comments should be directed to the board chair. So with that, do we have any public comment? John?
John Wright's my name. I have some documents that I'm going to serve, and I'm not going to serve it on you, I'm going to serve it on Mr. Slifka for a particular reason. One is John T. Flynn and his case of 93-70-21, original writ of mandamus, a bonded case. I cannot find under any aspects from California database, Montana database, John Flynn's death certificate. It's mandated by this thing in the United States Court of Appeals that it come up. It's needed. So I'll bring that to you, Laura. It needs to be found. I get every kind of reason and rhyme or reason why not, but it's a fact. He settled his affairs with the county without it. It takes 7 years ordinarily. The other is Nellie V. Sayers' judgment. But there's been a question that's come before this board about whether I'm in the right court or not. Ask Dennis Reberg whether I'm in the right court. And you can sort these back to her however you want to, because you're the only one that hadn't been charged and convicted. Now that's a fact. Now, you can play this any way you want. Carla can jump up and down, but you've got to go to the facts instead of just jumping off on the ledge. And that's the reason you're in the trouble. You are, Laura. You could have avoided all this if you'd have just settled Nellie V. Sayers the first time it come before you, and Elaine. So Carla's the same way. Y'all chose this route, now you got it. And it's not going to go away. So, with the end said, you can't change nothing. I'm just giving you some data that you should pay close attention to. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other public comment? Public comment? Public comment.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Can I make that comment?
Yes, you certainly may. Thank you very much.
Are you Irish? Yeah. Two of us anyways, I guess, if you count for it.
All right. We have our first appointment at 10:15 in 10 minutes, so we'll go ahead and take care of some mail until then. First order of business is minutes from March 10th, 2014. These were emailed out on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
motion to accept the minutes of March 10th.
I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the minutes of March 10, 2014. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries. Okay, next we have a statement from First Premier Bank. This is the trust for the Broadwater County Trust Board that was derived from the sale of the cabin sites along Canyon Ferry. And the total is $2.745 million. The trust board can spend anything over the corpus of $2.5 million, and they have a mission on how to do that.
Did the 61,000 come out of there yet for the dock?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we don't shut that or.
Okay, we have a postcard from Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks, the Upper Missouri River Reservoir Fisheries Management Plan. They're having their annual update meeting March 27 at 6:30 p.m. at 2668 Broadwater Avenue in Helena. And I apologize, I should have mentioned this, Elaine is out ill today with the flu. If she is needed via phone, she is available. Here we have claims for voucher date 3/11 in the amount of $31,515.45. These are the approved claims from last week.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to pay the claims, voucher 1077 for, what is the total was there? Let me see. $31,515.
Okay, I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims of 3/11/2014 in the amount of $31,515.45. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. This decision was made and approved with Brian when he was here for a solid waste report, but there were some questions last week on the amount that can be spent without going out for bid. He has purchased a new skid steer, which has come in invaluably over the last 2 weeks while he has had his equipment in the shop. What we have is, I would like this as a motion for the record, but MCA 7-5-2301 increased the amount up to $80,000 that one can purchase equipment for their department without going out to bid. And there's the MCA for you.
All I remember that there months ago, it was mentioned one time, when I was talking about the Prairie building, of when you hiring a person part-time and some equipment, possibly a skid steer. So I don't know when you get the authority to go ahead and.
He actually got it at that meeting, but I would like a vote to go ahead and sign that, anything that's signed by the commission, and then go ahead and take care of it. And they've already got it working.
I'm not going to sign it.
Okay, for the record, this equipment is already in the solid waste department. We will visit it when we have another commissioner who is aware of the process and how local government works in providing equipment for department heads to do their work. Next we have payroll. This is for pay date 3/14/2014 in the amount of $131,300.50.
$300.50.
It's been moved and seconded to pay payroll of pay date 3/14/2014 in the amount of $131,300.50. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, we are 2 minutes ahead of schedule.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could you repeat the MCA number that was on that document?
I can. It was 752301? 752301.
Thank you.
You betcha.
I'm not questioning the amount of the bid, I'm questioning the authority to go ahead and order the equipment.
Franklin, if you have such a question, you need to address it at the time that it comes up as a request and we grant approval. For 2 weeks later, for you to now say no is absolutely inappropriate.
There was not a
We
request.
gave approval, Brian followed through on what he is charged to do, and now you're saying no. That is absolutely irresponsible on your part.
Oh, well.
Number one. Lord, can you tell us what the actual contract amount for that machine was?
Discussed, it's closed.
You know, I'm gonna actually stick to our civility policy, John, and we'll take public comment a little bit later in the day. As soon as we start veering away from that,
You
we
pick
start
and
getting
choose
further
who
and
you
further
listen
into
to. She asked
incivility.
a question, I asked a question.
I'm gonna actually keep us on task, keep us to the policy, because we need to maintain civility in these meetings. So far today, it's working great, we're just gonna maintain it.
I believe it was 54,000.
How much?
I believe it's right at 54,000, if I remember right. When I saw
We got a good
When I
deal.
saw the figure.
Okay.
Our 10:15 this morning, excuse me, is Mary Ellen Schnurr with the Mental Health Quarterly Update. As our agenda is subject to change, what we'll do is move the Commissioner Community Update up, and that way it declutters the end of the morning a little bit. And just to let you guys know, the skid steer exact price is $54,000 even. The loader that Brian is currently using for the solid waste department is about 40 years old. He reported to us when he asked if he could buy the skid steer. At that point, we told him to go ahead. That is part of his job as the supervisor of his department. So that's one of the reasons that he needed it, is, and that 40-year-old loader is, of course, in the shop now for a couple weeks. So without it, he doesn't have the equipment he needs to take care of our garbage. So that's, the price is $54,000. And to the Commissioner's Community Update, Franklin, what'd you do this week?
Went to the conservation meeting.
And was anything discussed there to update the board or the public on?
No, they were talking about some flooding and some of their ongoing little permits they have.
Anything else?
Oh, that was it.
Okay. The Leprechaun Festival was Saturday. I know some of you were there. It was well attended. Their silent auction items went quite high, I thought, which is a good thing for them. Also, the Montana Board of Crime Control meeting was Friday. I chair that committee, and we meet quarterly. There are 9 committees, subcommittees, but we have representation on that board from Post, from MSPOA, from Highway Patrol, from sheriffs, public defenders, county attorneys, district court judges, Supreme Court judge. We have the Attorney General on the board, as well as the Director of Corrections. Local government is my responsibility. And then we have a staff of 17. What we have found over the last couple of years, not this last session, but the session before, the legislature cut prevention spending for crime, mental health, that kind of thing by $450,000. The staff have been trying to find ways to bring in money aside from that. And this year they actually pursued 5 other large grants for the state to kind of supplement that loss of $450,000. And along with that, the federal budget is also cutting prevention spending. You know, a lot of you know that prevention spending is about 7 times less expensive than reactionary spending. One of the targeted areas of cutting is the vests that our deputies and sheriff is currently wearing. You think about that, a vest is about $1,000, give or take. You take away that preventative spending, that preventative grant, what's the cost of a bullet wound? It's a heck of a lot more than $1,000. So that's just one illustration, but we have some joint meetings with the governor's office, and we'll be paralleling with the mental health meetings that are coming up, also with the governor's office, to try and get a therapist. So that's about all from the Board of Crime Control. And we have 7 minutes till our next appointment. Anything else, Franklin, to add?
I don't have.
All right, we will. By the way, they did save the grant program for the vests, just to let you know. I know you've been a recipient of that in the past.
It's true.
She helped me.
Something scheduled on. You send me an email.
I'll just put you on my list. Parks and Rec board, you're splitting. That would just-
I don't know.
Yeah, pretty hard to schmooze it out.
Yeah. Yes, I really don't know.
Was it, somebody?
I read about that, worried about it. She washed my car before she went back to Seattle.
I mean, so.
I'm gonna take it into, tomorrow. So put it on the computer, you know, first I'm gonna check on it. Close it and have it small, everything else. They'll, moving over, so I'm like, didn't have, the actually going on when I drove into the, county medicine. When I started this work, and, you know, I gotta check the gas pack, because if you open the gas pack before, that comes on some smart ass. The guy out, I mean, it's the guy out, this Dodge, I said, temperature level is all normal, everything's normal, and he said, it'll be fine, and,
So now that form you're coming to sign
It's,
she's so hallucinating.
it's just a customer application. We do these for the credit application. Yeah, so she has the equipment, just needs to get this little form signed.
So that's the credit application.
She's hallucinating or.
Obviously, our credit's good.
Yeah.
I am, I talk to myself all the time.
So where's it from? Where did you get it?
Merchants Capital Resources.
That's just a bank.
Yeah.
Tell me where I
And we actually already approved the claim. And no, it doesn't say, oh, Titan Machinery of Great Falls.
put. Okay.
Brenda, do you know if Nick is he in today? Okay, he's on the agenda next. Do you know anything about the peer review? Did he mention anything to you?
He didn't say anything to me about it.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda at 10:30 is Nick Corthal's Detention Center, peer review of the detention center. We had a meeting. Jim Muscovich came and spoke with Nick and I about a peer review they did of the detention center. What they're doing is some people are going through trainings around the state who are detention center employees. They go then to neighboring detention centers and they go through a checklist. Things that are being done right and well, they let us know. Things that we need to improve on, they let us know, and then give us the tools to improve those. Our detention center actually passed with flying colors. 73 items. were in compliance, and then 15 were partially compliant. 9 items were non-compliant and 7 are not applicable. So overall, it was a very good report, and we thought it would be a good idea for Nick to come and share some of the details of the report with us from his perspective. So we'll just table that. The benefit of doing this is we will save 50% on our insurance. The largest piece of our insurance, the largest expense insurance-wise, is the detention center. So it's going to be a nice savings to the county. So we will table that. We do have the jail standards decision. We've had 2 weeks of public comment, and we had a public hearing regarding the jail standards here 2 weeks ago, or last week, if I'm not mistaken. The public hearing was March 10th, so it was last week. So, Franklin, any final comments, questions, concerns about the jail standards?
No.
Okay, there was, we had MACO conferences, 2 of them, one last fall and one in February. Dennis McCabe spearheaded this, and the jail standards are a result of MSPOA, which is Montana Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, and a committee from MACO, Montana Association of Counties, who put them together. It's another opportunity for us to save some money on our insurance. And this is in working parallel to the state. Federal government has required that we have standards. We decided, we being MACO and MSPOA, that it was a whole lot better for us to write them ourselves rather than having the state do it in a one-size-fits-all. So that's what these are. Franklin, if there's no other comment, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to set the jail standards as.
Okay, I will second the motion. As this is an item of significant public interest, is there any further public comment? John?
Done right. Are these all set on state statutory law, or this being a constitutional county based on constitutional law? Could you answer that question?
Mm-hmm. It's a combination of the two. Some things are governed by feds, and some things are governed by the state.
No, that isn't the question I asked you. Whether it's state statutory or constitutional. There's a whole difference. Meaning is, and this question has come up before,
Mm-hmm.
our detention center, if it was managed or controlled by constitutional law, this constitutional county, we would have a official that ran that, which would be a warden. We don't have one. So anything what you're saying is outside of what the laws requires. Have you considered that?
Okay, are you done, John?
Yes, I'm done.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment? All right, it has been moved and seconded to adopt the jail standards. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Hey, Nick.
Sorry, I got tied up. I'm like,
Oh, no problem, come on
all
up.
right.
We just adopted the jail standards.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yes. And it will get you, we don't have a signature page for it, I just signed the back page.
Okay.
But you guys have a copy, so
We do.
just the minute stating that we approved it should be enough, don't you
Yes,
think?
yes, yeah.
All
And
right.
actually at the jail meeting, we had, with Mako last week, they said the same thing, so we're
All
good
right.
to go.
Excellent,
So,
check. It's
yes, it's done.
done. Yes. Kind of caught you off guard. Did you want to talk about this, and if you want
Yeah.
to use my copy?
Yeah, no,
You're
I'm
more than
perfect.
welcome to.
Yep. So we had the peer review. You were there for the Thursday meeting. Pretty much our facilities, there's minor things that we have to work on. Some things we've already improved. Several things we've already improved already to meet the jail standards. Going along with some of their recommendations, so we're just really honestly, this was probably one of the most helpful things since I've been the captain, because it really gave me an opportunity to see what really needed my attention and what, maybe didn't need so much attention that I was spending a lot of time So, this was super helpful. I'm actually on a committee now with the jail board there with Mako to go over and see what things should be on the top list for people to accomplish. So I meet again in April with that committee, and we'll meet there in Helena with Jim in the Mako building there. But pretty much what they said is our policy, which we've already knew had some holes in it. That was one of the things that they mentioned was our policy. And there was a lot of things in here regarding our policy, such as our PREA policy. There was a simple policy that we didn't even have in our detention policy saying we wouldn't use inmates for drug testing, sort of like guinea pigs. Sort of a no-brainer, but they said that we needed that policy. So I met with our company, that's Third Signal, that's doing our policy, and we've already met and I've discussed the things that we need to have in our policy book. So they're revamping our whole policy book. That should be done within the year. Is their projected goal is to have that done. They're just about done with our control policy. The other thing that they mentioned was our manpower issue. Right now we have about 34 inmates to 1 detention officer. So that brings up some liability issues. We are overcoming that. The position is closed. Now we just have to go through the hiring process to hire some more detention staff. Our numbers are still good. Friday we were at 40 inmates, so we're still pretty solid in our inmate level. The things that we've already done in compliance with not only, the great thing about having this peer review was this page by page is the jail standards. And I didn't really realize that until they sat down and the first day and talked us through everything. So page by page, this is the Montana jail standards. So that was a huge help. The things that we have changed, I bought a tool cabinet like they said for our meds. So our meds are now double locked like they're supposed to be. Before you go in any door of our facility now, there is a statement sheet saying that this is a secure facility and no weapons are allowed in. So those are posted now. I was talking with Mike on a couple of the other issues. He put up blinds in our med room, so now you can't actually see inside our medical room. So inmates aren't out of sight, out of mind type thing. We're in the process of hiring some new staff, which brings us closer to being in compliance with the jail standards. We also have added new rules and regulations, and I can bring a copy over after I'm done here. But it goes through more in depth of what is required in our facility. We've changed some ways that we've done things with our medical pass, in our escorting of inmates through our facility. We've changed those type of standards. Those 2 walls are going to be a huge asset to us when those get finished. Just change things in making it a more secure facility. And that's a huge thing. They were really excited to see that happen. They weren't quite understanding why it wasn't done to begin with in the design of the jail. The only thing that negative but not negative, is the trustee area where we had our inmate worker. We can no longer use because there's no direct sunlight into their cell. So I had to take that completely out. So if we do an inmate worker, it will be like when we first open the facility and they'll be searched before they go back and forth to their own cell. But we were able to remove that cell, and if we do go with the quick chill, we have a room now for the cooker and the dishwasher. So it was one of those things that it was a bummer to lose, but now we've gained space to actually have the cooker out of harm's way, so to speak. And it's in a separate room, and Mike and I have been meeting here on a regular basis, and all the fire suppression, everything's there, if, you know, so it's a pretty good ordeal that it sort of worked out that way. And then the other thing that we'll be doing is getting shower curtains they've been ordered for the female pods again, the dark gray ones instead of the clear ones. So those are being ordered since we did move our female pod over to what is now a pod. So those are just some of the small things that we have accomplished already. I've sort of taken a beeline with the taking of the horses here. It sort of put me behind schedule a little bit last week, but I sort of tried to go through the checklist of what they said we needed to work on, and we're heading that way. I just sat in on a meeting for PREA, which is the Prison Rape Elimination Act, and we're in the process of getting that 800 number, like discussed on that Thursday, where inmates can call in an 800 number and make a file complaint that they've been sexually assaulted in the facility. Also, Deputy Brandon Harris is going to be my PREA investigator. Each facility has to have an investigator that is strictly for the Prison Rape Elimination Act, and he'll be going to training to be able to do those type of investigations for us. We really didn't have many officers that were interested in it, and sort of Brandon took one for the team. So, and then I'm looking into a part of that webinar that I sat in. They have a computer program that helps with investigation of PREA, and it also does my yearly reporting that I have to report to the federal government, embedded in this program. So they're working on getting me a quote for that, and it's I think they were saying it's less than $1,000 for this computer program, which is huge because it helps with the investigation. It's all secure. It's not, you know, it times everything, so it shows if we did things in a timely manner or if we push things off too long. So it really does keep my investigator on track, and he can get notifications of calls via his phone, his work phone. Like if someone calls in on the 800, he'll get a phone call or a text message saying that you've received a new complaint, and so on and so forth. So we're working on that right now with our Securus, which is our phone company, in battling that. But honestly, this was a huge benefit for me as the administrator to really get along with what the facility needed, the direction the facility needed to go. So it was a huge help, a huge blessing for me to go through and check out in what we needed to tackle. So the next thing will be to hire the new staff and get them trained. I have one right now in the academy right now, and so that's the next step, and then go at this some more and pick apart. The policy was the big thing, and that's being done, so it's just a work in progress. So,
Very good. Any questions, Franklin?
No, sounds good. Staying on it there.
yeah, it's, you know, and honestly, I'd love to go around to other facilities and be involved in these, because honestly, it does open your eyes to what really needs to be done in a facility, and you know, because there are things that the ACLU is really attacking, and I made some good contacts from the ACLU that's willing to come up and do some free training for our staff at the MACO meeting I had last week, so that was huge. You know, just certain things, you know, that you don't think about a pregnant inmate, you know, whose responsibility is it if the inmate wants an abortion? We have to have a policy on that, you know, things like that we've never even thought of. But the ACLU is really hitting facilities and agencies with that. And they want to see your policy. They want to see that type of stuff. So honestly, it was a huge eye-opener for us to go through this and just to make our facility a strong facility. and cover all of our bases. So,
You guys probably covered this at the meeting, but we discussed this as Board of Crime Control on Friday. Some people are committing crimes to be thrown in jail right now because they need heart transplants. So the same question comes up, whose responsibility is it to pay for their heart transplant, their liver transplant,
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
yeah, and that's something that, you know, we haven't had, but we've had, this year, our medical expenses have gone way up. We've housed a lot more inmates of our own that have needed, we had one guy that had to have his testicle removed, and we had to pay for that, and that was expensive. You know, we've had other people, ambulance rides. We've had 4 inmates that have needed an ambulance ride from our facility to there, and they're $800 an ambulance ride to go around the block. That was just crazy. So we bought a wheelchair for $300, which saves us an ambulance ride. So, you know, just
Wow.
simple things like that, you know, just figure out a way to cut some costs. That was a huge thing. We bought it holds up to 400 pounds, so we can pretty much take anyone over that we need to. So those are just simple things, but that's what I mean. Those are things that we never even thought of
Yeah.
to even think about, you know, and without policy, what do you fall back on to tell your staff what to do? You know, and so that was a huge eye opener for me, is certain simple things like that, you know, whether it was abortion or heart transplants or whatever it is. Someone comes in with cancer, are we paying for their you know, chemotherapy and things like that? So those are simple things that we've not thought about, and so we're starting to trying to figure things out and where to go.
Now, the inmate medical, did that kick in at all with the gentleman that needed the operation for his testicle?
It did. We've not hit it's 10,000, our deductible's 10,000 per inmate.
Okay.
So, as you can tell, that's quite a bit of money, especially when we're housing 40 inmates. So we didn't get quite there. It was, I think his total procedure cost us right around $3,000 to $5,000. So we just paid a bill for his anesthesiologist, and that was $1,000. So things that we have the inmate count to where we need to be, but on top of that we have more. The nice thing is though, is when we house DOC inmates, that's not coming out of our pocket, which is a blessing. It comes out of DOC. We charge DOC. We have to get okay for DOC inmates to go get treated. If we don't get that okay, then, you know, they sit and wait until DOC okays it. So it's just our own inmates that cost us that money. So we average 10 to 12 of our own inmates on a monthly basis. So it's one of those things that the more inmates that we do house of our own, you know, that medical cost has a chance of going up.
And of course, we wouldn't be paying for a Lewis and Clark
No,
inmate or.
no, that all comes
Yellowstone.
from, yeah, we all, the way that, if we have a different county's inmate, we call them, the nice thing is Lewis and Clark has a doctor on staff, so we just call that doctor and say, look, this inmate's here now, and he's complaining of this, that, and the other, do you have record of that, and what do you want us to do? And they'll either come and pick them up and have them transferred and checked out themselves, or they'll say, yeah, take them to the ER, or take them to the dentist, or whatever. But then we bill them for, it doesn't come out of ours. So, same thing as with DOC. They'll either say they can wait till they get to the next program that they're headed to start, whatever it is, or prison. And then they wait for that.
Did you guys talk at all about the Medicare hole?
We have not.
One thing we discussed at Mako, talking about the jail standards with Jim,
Yes.
who's amazing.
Yes, he is.
And the information and knowledge he brings.
Yeah.
But apparently when an inmate is arrested and thrown in jail, he loses his Medicare, he or she, his Medicare coverage, and so it falls on the county to cover those
Okay.
things that might have been covered by Medicare prior to him being locked up. But the question is at what point does innocent until proven guilty kick in? And so they're actually in the process right now at Congress of challenging
Oh,
that, which would benefit counties
it would,
with
huge.
detention centers, well, with inmates.
Yeah.
Hugely, yeah.
And the other thing that they did discuss at that meeting I was at was, counties, there's nothing in statute saying that we have to adopt these standards. There's nothing pushing us to adopt these. If we want to say, forget it, we're not gonna adopt them, we're gonna do our own thing. But what they stated is they're looking at taking away some of our deductible, as they said in that meeting on Thursday, the Thursday when they finished, and giving us money back if we come in compliance. For everything that we do in compliance with this, they're taking away from our deductible, so it's money in our own pocket type thing. And the question came up is what if some facilities just can't meet it? And they're like, well then, they'll have to shut down, which would be good for other facilities, like ours, that we can go and house some of their inmates. Bad for, smaller counties that can't afford, the improvements that we've done have been very minute. I mean, I think the most it's cost us thus far, not including the walls, it's cost us right around $2,000 for these upgrades that we've done. Very minute compared to lawsuits and ACLU coming in and saying, this has to be done, A, B, and C. So for what we've accomplished thus far since having this, it's been very, very minute cost to our county. We've been very fortunate, that we were already mostly in compliance with the jail standards. There's just some things that we had to beef up on.
New enough facility that.
Yep.
you'll see your look at.
Exactly. So, yep. So we're hecking away, we're getting at it. So these 2 new employees will be huge for us, it'll really help us. And we'll revisit it as time comes on. So it's a work in progress, it's ever changing, like a living document. So, but
Very good. Thank you.
you're welcome. And I'll bring over a copy of those new jail rules that I have, and you guys can go through that.
Okay, excellent. All right,
Anything else?
not for
No,
me.
that's
Thank
fine.
you very much
Thank
for
you.
your job well
You
done.
guys have a great day.
You too.
All right, take care.
All right, we're a couple of minutes early still. The only other thing I forgot to mention is we have a census document, it's called SEDS, and Virginia has that if you want to take a look at it. Public comment is through April, she's our representative on that board.
And then what was it for?
It's kind of a census evaluation for economic development, it's called
Oh.
SEDS.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what that stands for?
Do not.
Certified Economic Development Census Survey, something like that.
Laura, can anything made as a comment on just what Nick just said?
Yeah, I'll take some public comment on Nick's comments and the jail standards and
Okay,
peer review.
just what I just said to you earlier about the warden and the constitutional. Nick, if he was a warden, he would know all these answers. He's on the job training. It is tremendous liabilities, and I've done some research on this subject with Richard Thompson and Ben Knapp about reviewing other places like Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. And about 70% of all of the police stations, like he's got there, that didn't follow the simple due process of having a warden to avoid all of the on-job training. And we're going to face the same thing. And when it comes, the liability is going to be so great, it'll take this county out. That's a fact.
Thanks, John. Any other public comment on,
I just
yes?
had a question. I saw a blurb, I don't know when, not too long ago,
About Lewis and Clark talking about building their own jail again. Aren't quite a few of our prisoners?
Quite a few, I don't know the percentage, it's not all of them.
Yeah,
We
I
are
know.
not doing what we did with Gallatin. For a number of years there, said, we're only taking Gallatin, they filled our jail, and then when Gallatin built a new jail, all of a sudden, we had no one.
Right.
No, we're not doing that again. Nick is taking people from all over the state, including DOC. DOC, in fact, when we had lost our inmates to Gallatin, had said, we didn't even know you guys needed space. Yeah, we'll send you people. They sent us 11 almost overnight. So we're keeping that communication open with DOC, and then with the variety of other counties as well.
It'd be kind of neat if we had long-term contracts or something, so we knew where we were.
Yeah, they're in a process though, Lewis and Clark, they're expecting that nothing will happen for probably 5 years.
Jeez, I'll be dead
So-
by then.
And was there another public comment? Okay, Laura.
Laura Gibbs. I was wanting to know from this man who just talked about pre-existing conditions, because, you know, some insurance will not pay. Then why does the county have to pay if a woman is arrested, she's already pregnant before she was arrested, or if a man or whatever had a heart condition or whatever, before he was arrested, and a medical advisor could say whether or not, then why would the county have to pay for those people?
As far as the woman situation, we don't know if the county's liable for that. Nick will have to do some more research, and that'll be in that policy. As far as the people who've been getting arrested to have the heart transplants, I don't know the details on that either, on what's happening with that. That's all still in the works. Like I said, that's even something that Congress is looking at, so it's not just Broadwater County where that's happening. But your question is a good one, and that's where that hole comes in. Prior to coming and staying here, they've got insurance. As soon as they're arrested and given a jail sentence, they lose that Medicare. Why? They're still, Medicaid, sorry. They're still innocent until proven guilty, which is a huge part of this question. So I don't know the answer to your question. It does not seem just to me.
I think it's a
So-
technical matter. If you got that before you're arrested, then that's your responsibility, not the county.
It certainly should be. I agree with you. Yeah. Roger?
I may be able to provide some background on this because I might be partially responsible for some of this. About 1987, I was doing an investigation in a small town in Montana. We had a nurse who was stealing medications, narcotics, from both the hospital and the jail. This nurse worked in both locations. What happened is, through the course of my investigation, I came upon the fact that this nurse had AIDS. And so I went to the county attorney and the sheriff of that county and asked if he, asked that he be arrested. I had the evidence against him. They wouldn't arrest him, purely on the fact that at that time, they knew he was terminal, and they didn't want to assume the medical costs in the jail of treating a terminal AIDS patient. They didn't want the responsibility in the jail of having an AIDS patient in their facility. This was in the very early days of AIDS. We finally had to turn this over to the Attorney General. And I'm not sure what case law came out of this because I moved on with the other investigations. But it's a good thing that this county is doing what is called risk management in the industry, in the insurance industry, looking at areas where you've got liability and doing whatever you can to reduce that liability. After hearing what this deputy had to say, I'm totally behind this program. And in my professional experience, this makes good common sense, and it's gonna save the county a whole bunch of money. And as far as the problem with
Mm-hmm.
inmates and their diseases and their medical problems, I don't know. 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 the courts are still trying to figure that one
It's a complicated issue, that's for sure.
out.
One thing too, for you guys to all understand is, because we have 41 inmates and about 30 of those are from other counties, they pay about $65 a day to stay here. And that actually pays for our inmates as well. So we as taxpayers are not paying for Broadwater County inmates. That is a savings to us of at least $100,000 a year. And that was when we were more at the average of 6 to 8, so now it's even more than that. So it is a tremendous savings, and we are trying to make sure that we have everything done so that we protect citizens from anything unforeseen. So with that, any other questions? Okay. We are going to move on to our 11 o'clock appointment, Doug Ellis, Treasurer, Investment Board, Mobile Home Removal from Taxes, Discussion and Decision. Good morning.
Morning.
Whatever you want to do. We'll follow your
And
lead.
actually, I had two taxes, that, they both came over, excuse me, from the Department of Revenue. This is the mobile home. And what happened on this one, there's one, if you want one for your records. Do you want a copy for Elaine?
Oh, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
What happened on this one, the mobile home was moved, George Marcuzzi was the owner, and he sold it to this Alejandro Chicano. They came in, got the moving deck, and for whatever reason, the information wasn't put into the Department of Revenue system. So this mobile home has been sent to Mr. Marcuzzi's address for, since, when was this, 1998? So the taxes were paid, that's what the second page is, so you can see the 2001 is where the taxes stopped being paid on it. Tracy went out to do a site visit on it, and it's no longer where the moving deck says it was moved to, so it's been moved. Since this moving deck, it moved maybe out of the county, maybe it was destroyed, she's got no idea where it's at. Mr. Marcuzzi isn't responsible, and as far as this Alejandro Chicano, I have no idea where this gentleman is. So Tracy sent me the email from Department of Revenue. Sent the email, as with the first page is, Doug, would you please delete the mobile home for 7COM174, it's no longer in the county. It was put in the wrong name in 1999. So the fact that we even got 2 years payments when it was in the wrong name is kind of a blessing, I guess. And normally on the mobile home taxes, we delete those, or we take them off the system if they're 5 years old or older. This is the way it should be done in June of each year, but this is kind of a special case. I don't think there's any way we're gonna recoup any of this money. I don't see any reason why not to take it off of the tax rolls. If we don't take it off, we keep getting a bill for it every year, and it's showing that we've got this delinquency that isn't even in the county. That's amounting to about $175 a year, so the total amount that on this one is $2,259.26. That's without any penalty, interest, or anything. That's just what the taxes would have been. And like I said, we've got no idea when it left the county, no idea where it went.
Chances are it's more than what the trailer's worth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of a,
That's what somebody wanted. How old? Years.
1966.
yeah. Yeah. 1966 Detroiter, so That removes any possibility of it being moved into town.
Yeah.
Legally anyway.
Yeah, and we're only, even if we could find this gentleman and the trailer, we could only collect the taxes for the last 5 years, right?
Right. Mhm.
Yeah. All right, we should have a motion on this in either direction. Franklin, what say you?
What do you want in the motion, just release it like they said there, or?
Yeah, just to take it off the tax rolls and,
Yeah, I'll just make a motion to take it off the tax rolls as per, well, I guess Tracy Hushi with the,
Tracy Grimm,
yeah,
you are.
And it's right on the front of your email,
Yeah,
she's with Department of Revenue.
okay. As per the Department of Revenue.
Okay, I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to remove this mobile home for Marcusi from the tax rolls per Department of Revenue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay. This next one is a little bit more complicated. And this is another letter that I got. The letter was actually sent to the Department of Revenue, from this Catherine Wickstrom. And according to her letter, it says, according to my records, in 2012, Broadwater County billed me some 700 plus for patent and mining claims. It happened because there was a glitch in the computer programs that not provide for non-productive patent and mining claims. And that she did pay her taxes under protest for, I believe it was 2011 and 2012. Yeah, 2012 was paid under protest. Both halves. The fact behind this is, on probably the next, not the opening sheet, but the next 3 letters are from the Department of Revenue to Ms. Wickstrom, telling her that, what she has to do in order to get the taxes reduced on her mining claim. And, they sent her a letter December 2nd, 2011, sent her a letter January 24th, 2012. She finally responded, they've got it stamped, they received it January 22nd, 2013. So, I'm to the point where I have to answer this lady's letter, let her know what we decided. From what I can see, it doesn't look like there was any computer glitch, any fault to the Department of Revenue or to the county. It looks like she just simply dropped the ball and didn't send her paperwork in.
Did she go through the tax appeal board on this and she paid in protest?
I don't think it went through yet.
Okay.
I know that the last time I talked to the tax appeal board, they said they had one pending. That was before they had a secretary. So I'm not sure where they were.
You're the secretary, aren't you? Do you know anything about this?
Where is this, located at? I don't see that. Her address is Missoula, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where is this, must be, they just got the section numbers here.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's all I have on it. I'm not sure exactly where it would be. The tax bills that I printed out on the following pages, the ones that she protested where she said we were $700 over. You know, if you go through the 2012 bills, come to the 2013, the first one, she paid $91 in 2012, in 2015, it was $15. The other one, she paid $402 in 2012, and in 2013, after she's done the proper paperwork, it was $14. So, you can kind of see what it would be if we, granted this to her. Department of Revenue will only go back 2 years, which is in their books would be 2014 and 2013.
If there were a computer glitch, right?
Yeah, or if they could have found where she had returned the paperwork.
Okay. Or if she'd made an error,
Right.
too.
Right.
Of course, we,
And I'm not sure how old she is, I know nothing about her, this is something that fell upon my desk and it's time to deal with it, so. I don't have any interest in it, one way or the other, it's kind of,
Well, here's, I'm
Falls on.
79-year-old. We've had several hip.
oh, 70 now, okay.
Yeah.
Hips are, yeah, sounds like she's having hard times. You know, it's kind of a, in my mind, you know, 2 years on my tax rolls would be 2013 and 2012, because we're not even in the 2014 tax payments at all yet. In one way, it seems like if you're gonna go back 2 years, you would go back 2 years from the last printed bill to me.
yeah, I agree.
You know, and you can see in 2013, they gave her the discount. And you know, if she's 79 years old, paperwork is hard to keep up with when you're 57 years old. So I can see where she got had trouble keeping up with all of this. They did send her 2 letters. I mean, in the Department of Revenue's mind, they've done everything they should have done in order to give her the chance that she needed to
What do they,
bring her taxes down to what they should be.
what do they recommend at this time? They give you any idea?
They recommend me to come and talk to you. So here I am. Yeah, I asked Tracy, and she said, we only go back, we're not gonna touch it. She said, we'll only go back to 2013.
Hey,
You
Doug?
know, I guess it comes down to what we think is right. I mean, do we wanna keep this lady's money because she failed to send in proper paperwork? Do we want to give her a break and say, you know what, I understand where you're at and what you're going through, and this is really what you should have been charged, and we'll refund you this money.
Well, I have a question about this. This is for 5 claims, it's not just one.
Right, yeah, the other 3 are kind of nominal fees, so they're not, I mean, the biggest fees really are the first 2. That one for 400 especially. That was the one that really got it. One was 91, one was 402, and the others were, here's another one that was 92, 44, 53. You know, if they were 44 and 53, she didn't even protest those. It was the $92 one and the $400 one that she protested. When DOR gave her the breaks that she would have gotten had she sent her letters in on time, they came out $9, $15, $7. You know, none of them, the highest paid one was $15.
And that's the 2003 that you're talking about there. And she wants the
2013.
difference.
What's that?
She wants refunded the difference from what she did pay in
From-
13 and what she paid in 12.
Well, yeah, so what she, had she sent her paperwork in 2 months of the difference, what she would have paid in 2012, and so basically it would be the difference between her 2013 and her 2012 taxes, which 2012, she paid $683. 2013, she paid $61.60. So you're looking at about $620. You know, that's not an amount that's gonna break the county. Like I said, you know, other than what she puts on her letter here, I don't know anything about this lady.
Franklin, any thoughts?
Kind of like you know. I guess kind of go along with the Department of Revenue, see. Or do they recommend any refund? They didn't recommend any refund.
They didn't recommend anything, they just said they would only go back to
Only 2 years.
2013, and if there's any refunds to be made for 2012, that's all county business.
So where she claims this so-called glitch, there's no, there's proof that there was no glitch.
Yeah, there really was no glitch, she just didn't get her letters sent back. They had copies of the two that they mailed her in 2011 and 2012, and she finally mailed a copy back in 2013. So, yeah, really, there was no glitch, I think it's, and, you know, this is kind of the same thing that held our taxes up at the beginning of this year. We had a veteran, and when I checked his tax bill, I could see that he hadn't been given his disability on his taxes. And it held our taxes up for about 2 weeks. But, and it was simply because he didn't come in and turn his paperwork in on time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the 2 years calculated by DOR is off. But that's my opinion, and it doesn't matter beyond that. The Department of Revenue, it does what they do, and they have administrative rules that govern that. What I would like to see is for her to follow the process, which is to file a AR-26, go through the tax appeal board, get a report from the tax appeal board, and their recommendations. But I think in the interest of equity, there is nothing here that allows us to make an exception. Yeah, I feel for her, but that's not my job as a, you know, commissioner of this county. My job is to treat everyone equitably, and I just don't see anything that takes us out of that from the paperwork. I agree with you, it is a minute amount. It is not gonna break the county. But if we open this door, how many others will have the same?
Yeah, I feel the same way there. Maybe that's the thing, go through the tax appeal board and go on their recommendation, if they wanna forgive it. You know, then we could pick our decision, I guess. I wonder if she has anybody helping her with any of this stuff. Apparently not, I guess, huh?
Doesn't sound like it, it's hard to say.
Did you never talk to her on the phone?
No,
Or is she have
I
that
was
phone
handed
listed?
this the 6th of March.
Yeah, I guess that's the phone. Yeah, there is a phone number. But it'd probably be better to send it by correspondence, you have a record of it.
Right.
I guess you could follow up with a phone call to try to maybe explain it to her some, and tell her there's a letter following. Does that sound okay with you?
I can do that.
And maybe ask her if she has anybody that helps run any of her, financials maybe.
That you should not do. We're not attorneys, we should not be giving any kind of advice, that's,
Yeah, I think
No, just ask her if she has somebody that helps her.
just leave that off the plate. We need to stick with just the facts. Otherwise, we open up the county to liability that isn't wise. You know that.
All right, well, I will send her a letter and give her a phone call and let her know the letter's on the way and that she should go to the tax appeal board. Okay, last order of business.
All right. Is it easier?
I hope so. That's the bonus.
Oh, good.
This is, I came a couple weeks and talked to you about the, investment board.
Mm-hmm.
And so this first sheet is just a monthly sheet that I do when I balance my books at the end of the month. If you kind of look over on the left-hand side, you'll see State Bank CD, that's the schools. American Federal CD, that's the schools. And then you'll see D.A. Davidson, Buchanan. Those are all investments that the treasurer's office has made. And normally, the way that I've been working my investments, and for a large part just because I think D.A. Davidson and Buchanan have a lot more insight and a lot more knowledge on the investment side than I do. I will get an email like that. I just got this one from Todd Buchanan. What will happen is these emails, or these bonds will come due different times of the year. We've got them now out to the year 2018.
Can I see 17?
Yeah, and so they're kind of stretched out to where if we needed the money, we could get our hands on it quickly without too much penalty or anything coming at us. But they come due at different times. This one, I had a bond coming due from Buchanan, and he sent me this email. He said, basically, we've got this bond coming due, mature, and everything in our portfolio matures before February 2018. As you know, we find the next step up, we'll extend that maturity a bit. Montana code says that an investment can't go out more than 10 years.
Okay.
So, and I've got that, I printed the codes on this packet. But then he writes, federal home loan bond due 3/26/19, starts at 1% per year for 1 year, goes to 1.25, and to 1.5, and then it steps up every 6 months at the rate of 2%, 3%, 4%, and into 5%. That's better interest than we've gotten for a long time. It's starting to come up a little bit. That's just, it's called a step-up bond, and that's what a lot of our investments have been lately, just because if you invest for, say, 3 years, you might start out at the 1.5, but that's as high as you're gonna get. These, by the time this one's done, we're at least getting 5% on our investment. And usually when they send me an email like this, I'll have a week and a half to respond to them, but they'll be coming due, that there's a window of opportunity for these bonds, and then they're gone. So, and usually, I mean, they're very good at fitting them in to the way Judy invested, the way Rhonda invested, the way I'm invested. They're just kind of following the same pattern, and
And so
You
if
know,
you-
it's been working out pretty well.
So if you don't do anything, that they follow that same pattern and that.
Yeah, as far as getting everything to where, you know, it was to where we had them kind of spread out over 4 years, and we've gone a little farther than that now because of these step-up bonds, just to get better interest. But I called Paulette in Lewis and Clark County. She's got a investment board that she deals with. She said it consists of the treasurer, the superintendent of schools, which would be me, so we'd have to change that a little bit. She has 2 of her school administrators from different schools, and then 2 private individuals who are knowledgeable and have an interest in it, and 1 commissioner. So she's got a total of 7 on hers. When we talked, we kind of came up with the treasurer, Three Forks School, Townsend School, a city official, a county commissioner, a deputy treasurer, 2 private citizens, and someone from the finance department. So we came up with 9. Paulette told me she has trouble keeping people interested in this. She said they only meet twice a year, that she sends them reports monthly, which would be fine with me. I print the reports up anyway. And she said the way that it works with Lewis and Clark is if she gets an email like this saying, this bond's coming due, you've got this much to invest, how does it look for you? She'll kind of send them a letter saying, this is what I have, it looks good to me. She'll send them an email and give them a couple days to look it over. You know, but and kind of the reason I'm bringing this up at all is because it was brought up at winter conference. There are very few treasurers that do all of the investing in counties. Most of them have an investment board, and I think that's a good idea. I don't think, just simply based on some of the things that have happened in our county with personnel changes and stuff, you know, when Rhonda leaving, for example, you know, when she left, it left a gaping hole and nobody knew where to go with anything. It was kind of like reinventing the wheel. So the more people that know about this and our investments and kind of how they work, I think if something were to happen to me and someone else would have to step in, at least there would be 3 or 4 people that could say, well, I can help you with this part. Not only that, it gives disclosure, you know, lets people know what we have and where it is and.
And a voice,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right. So I guess what I was gonna propose today or ask you is if you wanted to construct an investment board, how many people we would want in it, how we would go about with, the meetings, if you wanted to do them twice a year, quarterly. You know, it's wide open. I mean, you can say, I don't want any part of it, and you're doing fine, but I would rather see more people involved. It just makes more sense to me.
Just
Actually, I
adding.
think you are doing fine. I guess it pertains if we wanna get more involved, more people involved. I mean, they had 7, you said, and we thought about 9.
We came up with 9, and the
Yeah,
reason
I
we did
wonder,
that,
shouldn't drop some off of that, you think, or, it's probably a good roundabout
well, and
variety there, which is probably good.
I think you want Townsend and Three Forks schools involved, because it's some of their money.
Yeah.
The city should be involved, because they've got a vested interest in it. We could probably drop the deputy treasurer off, because I keep them pretty well informed in my office anyway, what's going on. Finance department, I'm not sure about that, you can cut it back to, If we wanted to do 7 like Lewis and Clark, which there's no reason we have to be exactly like them, but we could drop the deputy treasurer and either the finance office or one of our citizens. I don't think you would want to drop either school.
No,
I think they should
I
be
think,
involved
yeah,
in that, and
yeah.
I really think the city should. As far as the treasurer being on there, I'm gonna be there anyway, so if you wanted to set it up to where I could make the proposal and, or to vote on,
If you were an ex officio member, then we could have a 7-member board. Leave the 2 citizens on, take you off and the deputy treasurer. If there's a tie, you could break the tie as an ex officio. So if there's not a tie, then that would be easy. So we could do it that way. One of the things that I don't like is when you have these numbers, we're looking at about 9 million here that's invested. I think that needs to be spread out. I think it's too much responsibility to sit on one person's shoulders. I just don't think that's right. 2, I think it does increase transparency to have a investment board looking at this, getting monthly reports, and I like having 2 citizens versus 1 because it doesn't hurt to have citizen members of our boards. They get a better understanding of what we're doing and why, and that is not a bad thing. I think it's a good idea for those reasons. Any other thoughts, Franklin?
Are you gonna kind of draw this up, or how are we gonna move the next route if we go this route?
I think probably what we would have to do is make a resolution
And then advertise? Yeah. Yeah, and I bet we could just borrow Lewis and Clark's resolution, change it to fit Broadwater County, and just bring it forward.
I'll call Paulette and see. I'm sure she'll send me whatever she has.
All right.
I'd say if you want to kind of get the ball rolling, I'd say we let Doug go ahead and get this information, and then just report back later.
Probably through with the resolution process.
All right. Sounds good. Go for the bonus round?
You betcha. While we're here.
This isn't anything that's on the agenda, it's just for information.
Okay.
I had Morrison Merrily and DIS Technologies come in to check our computers out and see what we would need for a IT person. DIS wasn't here until Friday, so they haven't gotten a quote back to me yet. They went over to the jail and did a pretty extensive look around over there. They came up to the county attorney's office and checked her equipment. Morrison Merrily already there to see attorney and the sheriff's office. And from talking to Nick and Carla, it didn't sound like either one of them is real pleased with the service they're getting from them. Just, think it could be a little better. I know DIS, when they came in, were very thorough in their investigations with what we had and seemed very knowledgeable, but I haven't seen his bid yet. Morrison Merrily, pretty expensive. They wanted $1,000 setup and $2,275 a month to cover the entire county, jail, attorney's office, and
How much a month? How much a month, you say?
$2,275.
Okay, I see, right, okay.
But this
Now, does
is,
this pertain to, a while back we hear you talk about this Black Mountain? Is it?
no, it really, really doesn't have anything to do with Black Mountain. This is just for, IT services on your computers. If we, like, we have about 7 computers in the county that are XP, Windows XP, and that system is pretty much the top in April.
How come, I'm thinking about Black Mountain, what was the deal at Black